Alright, so this is another How It Was Made video, and this one is for Renew. Before I start, I just want to mention that I do have a Discord channel. The conversation sways more towards production talk, but yeah, there are a lot of incredible producers in there, and absolutely anyone is welcome to join. So that link is down in the description, and yeah, let's get started. So to kick things off, I will just cover these intro guitar chords because they really, they're both how I started making this song, and they also really established the general sound and vibe I was hoping to achieve with this entire song. And the main way that I did that is with this plugin called Cassette, which emulates that sort of oldie tape cassette sound. So here are the chords soloed with this on. And if I turn it off, you'll hear that while the chords are still pretty low passed, that sort of shaky wobble is gone. So I think that really sets the tone for things, and it stays pretty consistent throughout this whole song. The only difference is just in the processing and the width, I guess, but I will get into that in a second. So while those are cool, I don't know, it needed a little bit more for me, and what solved that problem was just this one ARP track. It just has such sort of a whimsical, fun sound to it, and layered over just those, this one guitar track playing those chords, I think just these two alone have such a nice, fun, and unique sound. So next, to continue with the guitar, again, the chords and everything stay the same. The difference is that once the chorus starts, it switches from this single track that has also been, while this was recorded on a single channel, the spread has been reduced, so it sounds a bit more narrow. And then that leads to these double track guitars, which are panned pretty hard left and right. And then cassette isn't doing as much. There isn't as much wobble, so the guitars are a bit cleaner. So you get this sort of shift in sound and stereo image. And to fill out those chords just a little bit more, we have this low-pass saw bass. And as far as primary instruments playing during the chorus, the only other thing is the ARP. So just in general, it's very simple and basic, but for me especially, it's a bit out of the ordinary because I do get carried away with layers sometimes. So that really covers the sort of foundation of this whole song because it doesn't change up all that much. I'd say the next step, I'll cover the drums in just a bit, but to stay on, because I guess I did make those drums after laying down the parts that I just played. I didn't add in the lead guitar until the end of this, but to stay on theme with the guitars, I will move on to the lead. So it's a pretty simple riff, and I guess that's fitting because I'm not that good at guitar. So I really just do what I can. I think this is just a a pretty simple pentatonic riff. But I think it ended up working out pretty well. And here, I guess I'll just play it quick. And you can kind of hear that the timing isn't perfect there, and that was intentional because I mean with all the tools and everything to quantize things, if you want things to be perfectly in time, that's very, very doable, but there's a point where it does just kind of add a nice human element without being distracting. So that was kind of the goal of leaving it a bit imperfect. I guess the follow-up part being the bridge also has lead guitar, and it's not wildly different than the lead guitar and the drop, but it's different enough to kind of help distinguish itself in its own unique way, I guess, especially because I do have the pitch change, so it jumps up an octave. And as you can hear, I do bring cassette back in a more heavy-handed way. So there's a bit more wobble. And I actually ended up, because I didn't just want that to repeat itself for the entirety of the bridge. So in the second half, I just kind of took an easy route, which I think ended up working, which was pitching it up an octave. And I mean, the few times I've played this song live, I do just obviously play the second part higher up on the neck, but that sounds different than if you were to just pitch up something you played lower on the neck. So I ended up just sticking with the pitched up version because I liked how that ended up sounding. And then you have the same chords from the intro on the same track. All right, so obviously the next big thing I haven't talked about is the drums, which did come pretty early in the creation of this track. I think the specific order went intro chords, arp, and then just the widened guitar and bass, and then I made these drums. And the big focus for me was just getting the clap to be right, just to sound organic and sloppy enough, but still, I don't know, having an element of tightness and hit hard enough. So the foundation for the clap snare sound, even though it's bounced in place, was from a plugin called Hand Clap Studio. And it's just a really convenient plugin for generating authentic, real sounding claps. Has mic adjustments. I typically prefer to get rid of any of the room mics just so I can add my own reverb. And then, yeah, you can adjust the looseness, the amount of claps, how wide you want them, the pitch. Anyway, so if you are interested in using claps like that or you use them often, I would very much recommend that plugin. So yeah, here's the track that was bounced out from that plugin. And it's very heavy with reverb. And then underneath, to kind of provide the main beefer, like hard-hitting layer of the snare, I think this is a bit more of a sort of like a stick hit. And then a subtle, just totally dry, kind of clicky sound. And the kick, not anything special. And that's the drums aren't too complicated in this. Nothing is really too complicated in this track. For some added interest in the second half of each chorus, this sort of odd, noisy hit comes in. It's not too audible. And then in the second half of the chorus, there is a tambourine accent that hits and the final few snare hits. But what really brings these drums to life is the percussion. And if you've seen any of these How It Was Made videos before, you know that I am a very big fan of using lots of different percussion sounds. So in this, here's all of them soloed. So we have this washy track, kind of a noisy thing. Then this very kind of dirty, reverbed out shaker tambourine thing. And then just one more here. But one of my favorite things is the mouth clicks that come in the second part here. Because before it, I mean, this still grooves very well. But I love when the little clicks come in. I think they add such a nice little additional rhythm, and sonically, I really like I don't know, where they sit frequency-wise and hearing those little clicks, because here they are soloed. Even the percussion's pretty mild. There is a little bit more going on in the second half of the bridge to help lead into that final chorus. And there's again, just kind of playing around with some loops and processing, even though these are bounced in place. But so those are the only additional percussive elements. So I suppose the next thing to talk about would be this lead arp, which kind of then ties the structure of this song into it as well. So to make this song a bit more interesting in general, I decided to double the length of the final chorus. And I didn't want to I don't know, just repeat the main guitar melody that plays. And instead of just switching the guitar, what the guitar is playing, I wanted to bring in a synth to really give some contrast. So here's the synth part. And as you can see from the title, this was recorded from my Prophet Rev 2 here. Though you can see it had a pretty hefty amount of processing. We have RC20 for some lo-fi distortion-ish kind of sounds, delay from Echo Boy, Valhalla space modulator for, I don't know what it's doing. Oh, yeah. I don't want to unfreeze this because it looks like I did. Never mind. Yeah, for a little bit of a flanger. And then just some reverb. So that is how I really kind of made things different in the second half of the song, but I also ended up using it as a transitional element out of the first chorus, which also ended up serving as, I don't know, a kind of a way to foreshadow it. I'd like to say that was totally planned, but it was more, I wanted to make this transition a bit more interesting. And I had already put down this ARP line in the second half and decided to just toss it over here. So it ended up working out that way in that it foreshadowed its eventual appearance. And in addition to it just contrasting the song, I do think, like the notes it's playing and everything, it does give it sort of this is the end of the song. Here's just a nice sort of big outro. Well, that computer doesn't want to cooperate, but anyway, the last thing I obviously haven't talked about is the vocals. There's really not much for me to talk about that would be valuable information, I think, because it really is just the result of me endlessly searching and collecting various vocal samples and then trying them out. And I'm pretty sure I've, again, talked about sort of the way I like to mess around with them in terms of adjusting formants with little alter boy here and various delays and things. So yeah, I guess I'm not really going to go into it. And it's not because I'm avoiding it. It's just there isn't much to talk about. I don't think this is really that interesting because as far as atmospheric stuff, this has very few tracks compared to most of my songs. There's just this little bell going on. Then a bit louder version that comes in the second half of each chorus. And then some Foley. And then I guess during the transition out of the first chorus, there's these two little lines that I recorded on my mini log over there. So I think that pretty much covers everything that's worth talking about in this. I very well could have missed something though, so if I did, or if you're curious about anything, please let me know in the comments. I am more than happy to answer any and all questions. And yeah, I hope this had some useful information, and hopefully I can get some more of these out in the near future.